If there's one thing that the Democrats can be really good at is at being hypocrites. And we already know that Jimmy Kimmel was, shown the door and basically fired from whatever he was doing that was not that fun at the end of the day. But then, all his woke friends, all his libtard friends, all his progressive and Democrat friends are yelling that this is an attack on freedom of speech. This is a weaponization of the government against his right to claim that the assassin of Charlie Kirk was on his own camp. It was MAGA, which is of course a lie, as we know now. Now, Queen Bee has a very good point about this. We gotta expose the real reasons why Jimmy Kimmel was, canceled, and it had nothing to do with the government. Jimmy Kimmel is worth $50 million. He got fired because his show was shit and had terrible ratings, and he told lies. The sponsors of that show were pulling out, thus rendering his salary unattainable. He will survive. Charlie Kirk was shot in the neck in front of his daughter for having open conversations with the students. He's dead. And yet, Kimmel's fans are celebrating Charlie's murder while finding a moral outrage that their millionaire late-night clown got sacked for being unwatchable. They cry over a pampered hack losing a contract and cheer a father being executed in front of his child. Effing monsters. That is the reality, and they don't want to accept that, as Sky Writer says, I think we should be loud and clear that it was ABC who decided to get rid of Jimmy Kimmel because of his crappy ratings and his reprehensible behavior. And I said this on X, basically the very next day. I mean, I think that he has said has so many bad takes over the years. I'm not gonna bother you pulling out clips about him saying all the nonsense that he expressed. But I think his bosses, the head honchos, were waiting for something, anything, any excuse to be, you know what, we have made the decision to pull him off the air. Yeah, no, that's simply that he was bleeding money to ABC. And in terms of being canceled, well, we have a long list of people that somehow, when they were canceled for what they said, the left didn't bat an eye. One was Roseanne Barr, 2018, and Tucker Carlson, 2023. Shane Gillis in 2019. Gina Carano, I remember Gina Carano finally got her vengeance from Disney, fired from Disney's The Mandalorian for Instagram posts. She didn't mock pronouns. She said something, but people just assumed, just labeled her as she was transphobic, and at no point she mocked or ridiculed in anything about transgenders. And boy, do they deserve to be ridiculed for their mental illness. J.K. Rowling faced boycotts, death threats, and backlash for Harry Potter cast fans for tweets arguing that trans women pose risks to women's spaces and sports for telling the truth. That is the problem, that we get canceled for telling the truth. Piers Morgan, Dave Chappelle, Megyn Kelly, Hulk Hogan, Chris Harrison. We have the longest list of people being canceled. And I think this is a systemic issue. To say that Jimmy Kimmel wasn't, the own, let's say, the one who canceled himself, being so lame and so bad. But in general, when you take a look at the ratings of late night shows, they are declining. People are getting bored of them. They're not being, watchable anymore. To be fair, Jimmy Fallon did a nice reaction to the Jimmy Kimmel stuff. He was moderately funny, but one thing that I could never understand about their shows is that, including, of course, John Oliver, which I've mentioned more than a couple times in this channel, is that if you have your jokes written for you, all right, not only you have your jokes written for you, you have all this I don't know, it's like structure around you, and you can't even be spontaneous, and you begin having this political takes that can be really bad taste. Are you really a comedian? I mean, I could give, for example, Bill Maher is not a comedian. I think that he is very spontaneous. I think that he doesn't crack jokes. He just says things that sometimes, well, are true and they're funny. Sometimes he can be quite deranged. Sometimes he can be on the spot. He still has kind of my respect. But the other people, people like John Oliver, you know that other people just write what they say. And they have this thing that is so unnatural. There is this studio laughs. They're not laugh tracks, as in there's real people they are laughing, but they just have a sign that said that when you have to clap, cheer, laugh, and you practice that before the show. So you're basically laughing and clapping and cheering on cue. So it's artificial. It is all made up. So you don't have that spontaneity, and I think that's what people are tired of. Okay, we need something more visceral. We need something more, in one take. We need something that is more spontaneous. If you come up with a joke, which should be maybe on the fly, maybe improvised, this is not a stand-up comedy. I understand that it has to be some limitations in time, as any show on TV. But the problem is that the more scripted you go, the more stale it becomes. That is a sad principle of ed. We live in a capitalist system, says Angus Davis. Disney was selling an entertainment product. Disney's employee, Jimmy Kimmel, lied to his audience blatantly and disgustingly. He wasn't canceled by a right-wing mob. He was fired by his customers as a consequence for his lies and lousy ratings. It's that simple. It's that simple. So Democrats are trying to have this or frame this like this was some sort of, oh yeah, it was Trump who is attacking free speech. This was weaponized by Trump. Thanks, Mr. Obvious, for sharing this. I'm tired of people acting like Jimmy Kimmel was canceled over free speech. The real reason is because he committed a major FCC violation against hoaxes by falsely labeling the shooter a MAGA supporter. He's a leftist. I mentioned this in my video, but he also had rock bottom ratings. So it was a perfect storm to be axed. No licensee or permittee of any broadcast station shall broadcast false information concerning a crime or a catastrophe if A, the licensee knows this information is false, which everybody knew at the moment that he said that, and B, it is foreseeable that broadcast of the information will cause substantial public harm. Yeah, to say that it was MAGA, the ones who killed Charlie Kirk, you're essentially, again, fanning the flames of more people that want to get rid of these Nazis, this MAGA Nazis. It's all the same hate speech, which again, hate speech is protected under the First Amendment. But there are certain regulations if you are in a broadcasting setting. That is very different from just tweeting that. And that is very different if you tweet that and the company that you work for doesn't want to associate with you anymore because it doesn't stand for whatever rotten values you are spewing in Twitter or LinkedIn or your show or whatever. That is the big difference. That's the thing that these people don't understand. You are not free from the consequences. President Trump goes scorched earth on Jimmy Kimmel after he was canceled and fired by ABC. Oh my God, what did Trump say?
Jimmy Kimmel was fired because he had bad ratings more than anything else, and he said a horrible thing about a great gentleman known as Charlie Kirk. And Jimmy Kimmel is not a talented person. He had very bad ratings, and they should have fired him a long time ago. So, you can call that free speech or not. He was fired for lack of talent.
He was fired for lack of talent. Again, I could have showed you a long line of people complaining about and crying, and so many artists rallying behind him, and they forget all the times that they have done the same to us. But I would like to know what you think about this in the comments. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the Bad Language Guy. Much love and bliss.